Dead Cells has hundreds of different weapon and skill combinations that can make each playthrough an entirely different experience. For this challenge, I decided to make the hardest decision of all and forego all weapons and skills. In other words, I would take on each of the biomes and bosses using the worst possible way to deal damage: stomping. A stomp can be performed by jumping in the air, holding down and pressing the jump button while descending. Upon landing, any enemies in the immediate area will take a trivial amount of damage based very loosely off of your highest stat. Normally, this is incredibly easy to perform, but I suffer from a condition known as Joy-Con drift. This forces my character to randomly look up, crouch, or just stop in place while I'm facing off with hordes of vicious enemies. If you have any friends or family that suffer from Joy-Con drift, then you understand how difficult it can be to game casually, let alone attempting the various challenge runs I do weekly. Find it in your heart to subscribe today, since it's the only known cure for Joy-Con drift. It's also been proven that following me on Twitch to provide emotional support during these challenge runs reduces the effects of JC drift by 3%. But enough about me, let's jump right into the challenge. The journey begins with the beheaded occupying a nearby corpse. After a quick stroll past the hundreds of weapons and items that we had unlocked, I decided I was making the right decision by choosing nothing at all. As I suspected, the prisoner's quarters was actually a breeze, so I tried my best to locate any power scrolls or scroll fragments that could increase my level. I decided to go with survival since it's the stat I'm most familiar with, and also some of the perks would greatly enhance my HP near the end game. As I became acquainted with the stomp technique, I was actually surprised by the damage output, but these weaklings would soon be replaced by much more formidable enemies in the following biomes. Eventually, I located all of the scrolls and found the exit. In the safe zone, I was rewarded with a speed bonus since I cleared the previous area in less than 2 minutes. They granted me the ability to stun enemies I jumped on. I also selected the Igdaurus Leox mutation to grant myself an extra life if we got in a tough patch during the last boss of the run. I topped off my health and headed towards the Promenade of the Condemned. Here, nearly all of my power scrolls were located underground, so this slowed me down a bit. My goal was not to kill every enemy, as it would be nearly impossible for me to avoid taking damage at such close range. Instead, if possible, I aimed for a speedy completion to unlock the bonus doors in the safe zones. Also, the bonus effect of my necklace was actually very awkward. It made the beheaded bounce off any enemy, and this really threw me off. I stopped to smell the roses, for no reason whatsoever, and continued my search for power scrolls to enhance my survival. I decided to stomp on a few spike pits along the way for good measure, and eventually made it to the lift to leave the biome. In the safe zone, I rejected the speed bonus and opted for the crow's foot mutation that would drop some caltrops on the floor every time I rolled. We were on our way to the ramparts, which is my least favorite area on this path due to the level design. Even though all levels are generated as a random seed, each level still has certain defining characteristics. This level in particular has very narrow but deep areas to explore that really slow down the search for power scrolls, but fortunately, each of the portals we activated could be used to backtrack or speed up navigation if we ever found ourselves at a dead end. Along the way, I defeated an elite that dropped an amulet with the perfect perks. Downward smash attacks would burn the ground, and enemies that wounded the beheaded would be poisoned. I honestly couldn't have asked for a better roll here. After locating all of the scroll fragments, we increased our survival as much as possible and headed towards the Black Bridge. Before the boss fight with the concierge, we chose the Vengeance mutation and took the exit. The concierge was the first boss to take down, and fortunately his movement set was easy to predict and his attacks didn't deal too much damage. So instead of finessing him, I decided to tank most of his attacks. I had just suffered a terrible loss in my previous attempt, so I was grumpy, and I wanted this bastard to feel my wrath. In the safe zone, I topped off my health and ran towards the Stilt Village. This is one of my favorite levels, not only because of the cramped quarters that force you to stay on your toes, but also because of the large amount of power scrolls. The objective of the biome is to locate keys to unlock doors that are preventing your progress. Once you find the keys, you can advance to the next area. I burst through the first door and started complaining about the Joy-Con drift, grabbed the second key, and took the lift towards the next safe zone, the Clock Tower. Now this is my absolute favorite level. There's just something about the killer soundtrack and the constant wall running that makes you feel like a badass. I praise the developers for the awesome movement mechanics in the game and continue to locate the power scrolls hidden across the biome. After I found the Clockmaker's key, I faced off with an elite in hopes to get a more powerful amulet. Fortunately, the archer dropped a ruby amulet 7 that inflicted the damage we received on the enemy, and we still kept the downward smash that burned the ground. Next on the list was to find the door to the clockmaker's room. I got distracted by a group of enemies and nearly paid the price. I continued exploring, found some additional power fragments, and eventually found the exit. The clock room held our next boss, the Timekeeper, and this was definitely one of the best fights on the path to High Peak Castle. The Timekeeper dual-wielded large blades, used chain hooks to grapple the beheaded, and threw shuriken. So imagine fighting a ninja that controlled time. After dealing enough damage, she entered phase 2, where giant swords came from some other dimension to impale me and end my journey short. In the end, the Timekeeper was no match for us, and we made our way to the final biome. The objective of this area is to locate 2 unique keys that are guarded by elite enemies. Once you clear the area and defeat the elite, you can grab the key and continue exploring. Almost immediately after stepping foot into the castle, I located the green door, defeated the spiky turtle guy, and got the key. But somehow, this giant broadsword-wielding tornado guy hit me with every single attack and nearly ended the run. However, I was able to escape and soon after found the red room, which was guarded by 2 elite ninjas. By this level, enemies can absolutely demolish your life bar, so the key is to time your dodges carefully and avoid taking any damage at all. With 2 keys in hand, I decided to find the remaining power scrolls and headed straight towards the exit. In normal playthroughs, it's best to find the third room so that you can access a few bonus scrolls and items near the end of the level, but I had taken so much damage from the castle guards that I thought it was best to avoid taking any unnecessary risks. I made it to the safe zone and had some decisions to make. I needed to re-roll my mutations to maximize my HP, so the 40% health increase from Soldier's Resistance was a no-brainer. I still wanted to maintain a viable damage output, so I kept Vengeance and headed to the throne room. The Hand of the King was relentless and used his arsenal of weapons to great effect. The bombs were the most annoying to consistently dodge, so I tried my best to keep my eye on them. As he took more damage, his moveset became more ferocious, and as he entered a new phase, elites would pepper the tiny arena. I did my best to keep my composure and focused on the goal. I would have my victory no matter what. In his final phase, he had the audacity to spawn an elite bomber and also a giant spinning elite that could shred me to pieces, so I prioritized taking them out of the fight as quickly as possible. This is really close. Oh my gosh. We got him. GG's. Oh my gosh, we did it. In the end, I was victorious. I had done the impossible and beat Dead Cells without using any weapons or skills at all. So can you beat Dead Cells using only the stomp attack? Absolutely. As a matter of fact, this is the second time I've ever completed this challenge. The first time was several years ago on my main channel, so be sure to check it out. Now if you've been it this far, then you might as well subscribe and comment smash down below. I stream challenges like this every week, so be sure to follow me on Twitch as well, and until next time, it's the Inhuman one signing out.